What the happened here? We're gonna talk about that and plenty more as we point out the upgrades, downgrades, and weird grades of the Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 HD re-releases on Nintendo Switch. But before we get started, just a couple of quick notes. First, do keep in mind that all the footage of the upcoming re-releases are from compressed YouTube videos, which very well could be exacerbating these issues. Next, since I'll be swapping back and forth between the new versions of the game and the original ones constantly, I've tried to make it as easy as possible to keep track of which version I'm showing at any given time. So keep an eye out for the icons and sound cues as I swap back and forth between them. With that out of the way, let's get to the changes, starting with Super Mario Galaxy 1. Which I'll be using the 3D All-Stars version for comparison, as it's extremely faithful to the original game. And from the very start, we can already see what might be a major change. And that's how the cutscenes may no longer be letterboxed, as many of them now fill the entire screen, or at least more of it. And yes, this applies to Mario Galaxy 2 as well many of the things we're comparing. And not only do we see this for the real-time cutscenes, but the pre-rendered ones too. Which is kinda crazy, as we're now seeing more of the animation than ever before. Now, it is possible that this change is only for the trailers. Kind of like how the UI is missing for a lot of the scenes too. But here's hoping that's not the case. Speaking of the UI, when elements of it are visible, we can see they've been shrunk down compared to before. Now returning to that first scene, we can see that the clouds in the background layer have been changed. As Mario is flying his way toward Peach's castle, we can see some big changes in the texture work here. Both the brick archway in the back and the cobblestone pathway look a lot sharper now. Maybe a little too sharp, but I actually think it looks pretty good. Though oddly, the rock walls look a little bit softer than they used to. Then, whether intentionally or not, all the flowers here look a little bit different too, with the colored portion on the inside extending closer to the edges now. In the next scene, watch this green toad closely. Did you see that? In the original version of the game, characters like this use lower poly models when at a distance, but when you get close enough, it gets replaced by a higher quality one. But in the new version of the game, it appears to show the high quality one at all times, which is a nice improvement. Now let's get back to that pre-rendered cutscene, which has some interesting differences beyond just expanding the aspect ratio. Perhaps most importantly, they practically fixed every issue introduced in the 3D All-Stars version. For instance, if you freeze frame the 3D All-Stars version at just about any point, you'll spot this weird color bleeding issue or ghostly outline of objects that are in movement. It's especially obvious with Mario here, which as you'll see, is fixed in the new version. You can see something similar with the propellers here in the 3D All-Stars version too. Yeah, they're not supposed to have that ghostly effect, as you can again see it fixed in the new version. It's been speculated that for the 3D All-Stars version of the cutscenes, Nintendo relied on some kind of AI upscaling solution. Now, I don't know if that truly was the case or not, but this next scene from 3D All-Stars had me pretty convinced. Because look at Bowser's iris here. What's going on there? It looks stretched and weirdly distorted. But here's the thing. That happened in the Wii version too. Yet, if we go to the new version coming to Switch, we can see it's actually been fixed. So was that always just a weird compression artifact? Or did they re-render the scene in higher quality? After all, if you look at Bowser's hair, it appears the specular highlights on it have changed. And then if you look at the cliff walls in the distance, it appears the texture has changed entirely. But that's got nothing on this next one. Because look at the stained glass window behind Peach here. This is how it used to appear in previous versions of the game. And here's how it appears now. Yeah, it's been replaced entirely. Pretty crazy, huh? Let's move on. The bloom lighting around Rosalina has been toned down in the new one. All the flowers in this scene, and perhaps elsewhere throughout the game, have been rotated slightly. Weird. The texture for the gray stone here has more detail in the newer version. But check out the dirt portion of the planet immediately after, as it appears to be missing detail in the new version. We can see the exact same issue in this scene, which reuses the same texture, which again looks way muddier and less defined in the new one. While we're on this scene, we can see how the skybox has been updated entirely, now featuring way more clouds and feeling more dynamic too. The giant stars in the planet below here appear to be better defined in the new one. We can see something similar with the planet below Gusty Garden, as the landmasses down there have been shifted around. Also, while Mario approaches the key planet ahead, we can see a lot more detail in the bush texture here, at least from a distance. Now, I don't want to worry about this one too much, as it could just be the exact angle, but it does appear as if the sunlight reflecting off the surface of the water may have been toned down a bit. The same thing might apply to the lava highlights here, where its bright orange glow in the previous versions might have been toned down a bit, which is an issue we also saw in the Switch version of Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. And while we're here, the stone texture on the ground also appears to be clearer in the new one, though I'm not 100% sure if that's an improvement or not in this case. Here's an odd one. Even though the ground here appears to be very similar, the circular pattern has moved around a bit. You can see the same thing in this scene too. The ground texture here appears to have been smoothed out and avoids a low resolution look. The brick pattern has been updated too, but it loses some of the intentional graininess that it had before. Something similar could be said for practically every texture in this scene. In the original games, it almost had a fabric-like look, which now seems to be gone for better or worse. Whereas the textures along the back wall here lost almost all of their detail, and look just kinda like a blurry mess. You can see a similar loss in detail with the ice pillar here just a few moments earlier. Bowser's scaly appearance looks like it may have been toned down in the new version, but I do have to say the airship's new wood texture looks a lot better. You can see the same thing in this scene, both for the airships and the platform Mario's riding on. In this scene, an entire ring has gone missing in the new version. Hey, here's a weird one. Unless the Comet Observatory's colors changed at some point that I forgot about, the awning here has been recolored in the new version on Switch, going from a light pink to more of a purple. And check out Rosalina's library. You can really see how much sharper the textures are in this case. Alright, so that's Mario Galaxy 1 out of the way, so let's move on to Mario Galaxy 2. Which remember, we're using the Wii version for comparison now, as it's the last official version released. And here's an odd change right off the bat. The Dear Mario text is smaller in the new version, to the point that it looks about the same size as all the rest. Then, the border that surrounds the storybook opening of the game no longer has a fuzzy edge, and instead has more of a rugged look to it. And despite how much blurrier the Switch version looks in general, you can still easily see how much more scaly Bowser appeared in the original game versus now. You can also see how the rooftop of Peach's castle also got a texture upgrade too. This scene is a good example of how some textures have been upgraded in a similar way to Mario Galaxy 1. Hey, what the hell happened to the bridge here? In the original game it has a clear steel pattern, but in the new one it's been scrubbed clean, and not in a good way. Whereas the carpet here looks like it got a deep clean since the original game. Take a look at how the wood grain has changed here. The new one looks good, but maybe a little less playful than the old one. And here's a close-up look at some other wood elsewhere in the game. And to continue the wood trend, I quite like how the tree looks in the new version. Look at the background here, the texture looks entirely different. Now looking more like a cracked wall rather than the more abstract surface from before. Though I do have to say the upgraded texture of the stone blocks behind Luigi here look a lot better than the new version. Unfortunately, one issue that wasn't addressed was the misaligned texture along this wall. Yeah, that's gonna bug me. Woo! So there you have it, all the changes, upgrades, downgrades, weird grades that I noticed in the Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 re-releases coming up on Nintendo Switch 1 and Nintendo Switch 2. Now while there are a few odd issues I do hope get addressed, namely in the way of some specific textures, this is nowhere near the amount of big issues that Donkey Kong Country Returns HD had by comparison. And I don't think these are going to be a bad way to experience these games, at least graphically. But when it comes to the gameplay, I think I'm gonna want to stick with my Wii remote to handle Yoshi's tongue in Mario Galaxy 2. But what do you guys make of all this? Let me know in the comments below which changes you're liking and which ones maybe a little less so. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and of course make sure to click that subscribe button and ring the bell for tons more about Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 from us and everything else Nintendo here as well. We'll catch you later. Bye everyone!